Yeah, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm grateful to EETT, the Greek regulator, to have invited ARCEP. I wish I could hear the debates yesterday. However, I couldn't attend, but I know you have addressed very important topics. Some of them have been mentioned by the European Commission representative, like the value of broadband for citizens and companies, or the role of PPP and co-investment. I think these are key topics, key questions today. Just a few personal thoughts on the question of the value of broadband for citizens and businesses. Curiously, the real technical revolution on the infrastructure side happened 10 to 15 years ago, and it's called broadband. Today we are talking about NGA, Next Generation Access Networks, which is based mainly on fiber optics, but the real revolution is a permanent connection. However, we think that this new way of using Internet, which is much pervasive, more mobile, the pervasive mobile Internet is going to grow very fast now, and it's a new deal, it's a new reset. We think it's a new time that is coming, and that is going to be an incredible opportunity for everybody, for the content and service developers, but also for the operators, of course, and for the citizens. This is why NGA deployment is a very important topic these days. And it happens 15 years after the opening of the telecom market to competition. So the decisions we are making these days are critical. This is what we think in France. This may result in more or less innovation capacity from service providers, for instance. This may result in more or less competition and freedom of choice for consumers. This may result, which is a very important topic in France, in more or less digital divide. And this is something we are very careful in my country. So EETT invited ARCEP to share the French experience on NGA network. We are still in a teenage. I don't say we are teenagers, but we are still in a very young age on that in France. But it's a very exciting time in the life, as you know. So this slide is going to summarize the ingredients we considered adapted to our situation and to our objectives in NGA deployment in France. We tried to create a double competitive dynamics. The first, the left blue ball, is a competition between private network operators. And in France we have four main network operator plus a cable TV operator, so it makes 5. And they have invested an average 6 billion euro per year in the past, let's say, 5 years. Not talking about NGA. Part of it is NGA, but this figure is quite important, and we think that they are able to invest now very heavily in the NGA. The second dynamic is on the right, or the lever is on the right, and it's created by competition between private projects and public projects. This is more the governmental action, and we think that these are the two fundamental dynamics. Rather than competition, I prefer to speak of co-petition, and I will explain why. And lastly, it's important to say that the regulation framework applies to all these guys. Let it be the private operators, let it be the public networks, and in particular the local authorities' action in France. Now, I will start with the regulation framework in a few words, because you probably know this, and the European Commission has said a lot about that. We built the regulation frame in the past 4 to 5 years, so it's not so recent, with a very simple objective: make sure the operators can be technically independent, unlike on telephony network or on cable TV network. But in the same time that they share the cost and the main investment on the last mile, so that let's say the civil works, for instance, can be shared, or what is we call the passive infrastructure. So we set up 2 complementary tools. First, asymmetric regulation to create a level playing field, and we regulated the incumbent on its civil works. That's very simple. There is now a mandatory access to ducts, which is imposed on France Telecom, and at cost-oriented conditions. And so there are 300,000 kilometers of civil works that can be used by the others at cost condition. Now, the second tool is a symmetric regulation that we designed on the terminal infrastructure, and the principle is simple. It's share. You have to share the cost. You have to share. So the first who builds informs the others, calls for co-investment, and then they do that together. The co-investors can invest little. They can invest at the beginning or later, and they can grow in the investment scale year after year based on their market share. Now, what happened on the private operators' side? So long, so good. They announced they would deploy FTTH on more than half population within 10 years, which is not bad. So on the map you can see these red spots. In fact, they are the main cities in France, the urban, the higher density areas. 4 major cities of France are particularly targeted, like Lille in the north, Paris, Lyon, which is in the middle, and Marseille on the south coast. And you can see the red is larger than in the other parts of France. FT is a primary investor, which makes sense, and the other are co-investor. Now, it's interesting to say that 9 million homes in these 16 million correspond to the footprint of the cable TV operator. So France Telecom obviously tried to take this market share at the very beginning. But 6 million additional homes have been targeted to prevent local authorities to take the lead. So this is a second, the blue ball on the right, the previous slide, showing that the local authorities' action has been a strong competitive lever. Now, one of the questions is, are the operators serious in these commitments? And it's a tricky question, in fact. Some say that they are not serious. We think in ARCEP, because we know them and we discuss with them, that they are very serious. Plus, the CEO of France Telecom made some announcement to the financial market. So we think they are serious. But the government and the regulator made sure that they write the commitments. So this will be followed up very carefully, and probably ARCEP will be involved in the follow-up process. The operator enter in negotiation in that quite easily for a very simple reason, is that it's also their interest that the local authorities facilitate the deployment, like in the civil works, and a few operational aspects that are very important for the rollout. It's a kind of win-win deal. What's going on now on the public action? So there has been first